Cambridge IGCSE, let's start. 062022 paper, October, November 2022. You will get maximum 45 minutes, including finishing your bubble sheet. So let's start. Question number 1. The rate of diffusion of three gases, ammonia, carbon dioxide, and methane is measured. What is the order of rate of diffusion of the gases from slowest to fastest? Okay. So we know the rate of diffusion depends on the mass of the particles. So we see carbon dioxide, if we calculate the RFM of carbon dioxide is 44, ammonia is 17, and methane is 16, 12 plus 4, right? So then carbon dioxide, again 44, 17, and 16. So slowest to fastest. So the gas which is most heavy, that will be slowest, and the gas which is lightest, it will be fastest for sure. So it seems 44, 17, 16, this is the slowest to fastest, so A is the only correct answer. So in this question, what we need to understand is lighter particles travel faster than heavier ones. Lighter particles travel faster than heavier ones, so A is the only correct answer for question number 1. Which description of Brownian motion is correct? So Brownian motion, it was in the syllabus before, but it's basically it's not there in recent syllabus. So Brownian motion, so random movement of particles due to bombardment of larger particles, random movement of particles due to bombardment of smaller particles, random movement of particles from a higher concentration to low concentration. This is not true, as this is basically movement of particles from high concentration to low concentration. You know, this is diffusion. And random movement of particles from a low concentration to high concentration, this is not true as well. So in Brownian motion, what happens? Very small particles, they move very randomly. So B should be the only correct answer for question number 2. So whoever knows the what happens in Brownian motion, it is unlike diffusion. It's not from high concentration to low concentration, or it is neither osmosis, which is high concentration to low concentration. This is not the case. So random movement of particles, especially very small particles due to bombardment, is Brownian motion. So for that, B is the only correct answer. Question number 3, if you look at, it's chromatography. Chromatography. So see, the chromatogram obtained using 4 substances J, K, L, and M is shown. So we know in chromatography, we have a chromatography paper. Then we take a baseline or pencil line. It's the same synonymous term you will get in your book. Pencil line, baseline, pencil line, or starting line. This is also correct, starting line. So from the starting line, we know we will give the spots for the different inks or different mixture of chemicals. Then we'll run the solvent. You can use a tub, or we have chromatographic chamber. So only the tip of the paper will have touch with the solvent. So make sure your solvent must be below the baseline. So that is basically the case. And after we place our chromatographic paper vertically into the solvent, then solvent will start coming against the gravitational force. So this is basically the thing. You know, this is your chromatography paper, which is mainly filter paper cut in rectangular shape. And you know, your filter paper have absorption capacity, so it can absorb solvent. So solvent will run, and the phase up to which the solvent will run is called the solvent front. So they are asking which statement about M is correct. So we know our sample will be separated, because all these chemical all these process are mixture of chemicals. So you see, we can easily see number in J spot, we have only one spot, K one spot, L one spot, and M we have three spots. So we can see J, K, and L, all of these spots are made of single dye or single chemical. Whereas M, it has three different spots, means it is made of three different chemicals. So what they are asking is which statement about M is correct. It is a mixture of J and K only. So K, we have one line which is with alignment or has the same RF value, or they have traveled same distance from the baseline. So we can see K is fine. J, yes, this is also fine. So J and K only, it is a mixture of J and K only, fine. L, we cannot see, this is aligned with L. So it is a mixture of J and K only. Not true, because we have another spot. We need to look at other substances. It is a pure substance. M is not a pure substance for sure, because it has three different spots. It is a mixture of J, K, and L. So J, K, and L, which is definitely not correct. It is a mixture of J, K, and an unknown substance. That is absolutely correct, because we have three different spots, and we do not know the what type of substance is M, because we do not have any reference point. Like M is aligned with J, and the second spot is aligned with K, but this is not aligned with anything. So we do not. This should be an unknown substance. So question number 3, D is the only correct answer. Look at number 4. Which statements about isotopes of same element are correct? Isotopes of same element. This is very easy question. They are atoms which have the same chemical properties. This is true, same chemical properties, as they have same electronic configuration or same number of electrons, because they have the same number of electrons in their outer shell. This is absolutely true statement. They are atoms which have the same number of electrons and neutrons, but different number of protons. That is not true. They have same number of protons and electrons, but different number of neutrons. This is not true. They are atoms which have the same number of electrons and protons, but different number of neutrons. That is absolutely correct. So question number 1 and 3 are only correct answer. 1 and 3 is B. Next question, number 5. Which statement about solid magnesium oxide is correct? Magnesium oxide is a giant ionic compound. So it is a giant structure, that is true, made up of magnesium and oxygen atoms bonded covalently. No, it's not bonded covalently. It is an ionic compound. It is an electrical conductor with mobile magnesium ions and oxygen ions. Solid ionic compound, they do not conduct electricity. This is false. Magnesium loses electrons, and these electrons move freely through a lattice. So in solid ionic compound, electrons, they do not have any free electrons, and they do not move. So this is not correct. Oxygen ions and magnesium ions are attracted to each other in a giant lattice. That is absolutely true statement. Number 6, which molecule contains only 3 shared pair of electrons? Shared pair of electrons, if you see shared pair of electrons. So CH3OH, if we draw it, then it's basically carbon, we have hydrogen, and we have 3 hydrogen, and 1 oxygen and 1 hydrogen. So this is methanol. Chlorine. So let us count which molecule contains only 3 shared pair of electrons. So we have many shared pair of electrons here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minimum 5 pair of electrons which are shared. Then Cl2. So chlorine bonded with chlorine. This one bond means 1 dot cross, 1 dot cross, dot cross. That I think. So dot cross. So it's only 1 shared pair of electrons. In water, O, H, and H, we can see we have 2 shared pair of electrons. And in nitrogen, we know nitrogen is a triple bonded compound, nitrogen, triple bond nitrogen. And as I said, 1 bond means 1 dot cross. So dot cross, dot cross, dot cross. We have 3 shared pair of electrons. So D is the only correct answer for question number 6. Great. Number 7. So in number 7, what we see, which particles are present in the structure of metals? Positive ions. Which particles are present in a structure of metals? So we know metals, they are formed by strong electrostatic force of attraction between positively charged metal ions and negatively charged C of delocalized electrons. So which particles are present in the structure of metal? Positive ions are present. Negative ions, we do not have any negative ions. Shared pair of electrons, we do not have. Mobile electrons, or the synonymous term for delocalized electrons. So this is also correct. 1 and 4 are only correct answer. So this one was D. 7 is B. You see, number 8 seems very complicated, but hopefully not. Caffeine is a stimulant found in coffee. So it's caffeine we drink. Which formula represents caffeine? So it's basically you need to count the number of atoms for each different element, and you need to give accordingly. So we can see we have carbon. How many? 1. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. We have 8 carbon. So we need to be very, very careful. Only 1 mark. If you miss only 1 atom, your marks will go. So you have 8 carbon atoms. Then nitrogen, you see 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have 4 nitrogen. So N4. Then how many oxygen? Let us count. So we can see we have 1 oxygen and we have 2 oxygens, and we do not have any. So oxygen we have 2, and we can see all our, this is CH, and CH, N4, and O2, this is fine. CH, N4, and O2, so we need to count the hydrogen. I thought if these 3 matches, then we can find 1 without counting hydrogen. So you need to be sometimes very tricky in order to save your time, but you need to count hydrogen. 3 hydrogen and 3 hydrogen, 6 hydrogen, and then you have 3 hydrogen, you have 9 hydrogen, and you have 1 more, so you have 10 hydrogen here. So C8, H10, N4, O2 is the only correct answer. We do not have any hydrogen, right? So C8, H10, N4, O2. This is the only correct answer. Very good. So for this type of questions, we need to be very, very careful in order to count. So if only 1 hydrogen you miss, C10 and H11. So if you miss only 1, then you will lose your mark. So be careful. Spend your time here. And number 9, which sample does not contain a number of atoms equal to the Avogadro constant? We know Avogadro constant is a fixed number, which is 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. So 1 mole is equal to this Avogadro constant. So 1 mole of anything, say 1 mole of pen means 1 mole of pen means 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 pence. 1 mole of electron means 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 electrons. 1 mole of atoms means 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atoms. 1 mole ions, it means 6 into 10 to the power 23, 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 ions. And similarly, 1 mole of molecules is 6 into 10 to the power 23, 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 molecules. That's how it will go. So we need to find which sample does not contain a number of atoms equal to the Avogadro constant. So equal to the Avogadro constant means 1 mole. 1 mole of anything means the Avogadro constant, 6.02 to 10 to the power 23. So we can see here they have given some mass, and we need to find the knot. So circle it properly so that to understand it's not the answer according to Avogadro constant, rather all will be according to the Avogadro constant except for 1. So you need to keep in mind, always circle your knot, otherwise you will forget. 18 gram nitrogen, we know, 14 gram, 14, and nitrogen is 14 plus 14, 20 is 28 is the molar mass or RFM. So it's 0.5 mole N2, which is, see, they're asking for a number of atoms. So we have 2 atoms in 1 nitrogen. So we have 0.5 times 2, which is 1 mole nitrogen atom. So this is correct. So since this is correct, this is not our answer. 6 gram water. So 6 divided by 18 is the RFM of water, which is, 1 3 or 0.33, can say 1/3 or 0.33. It's 0.33 mole of H2O, which is 0.33 times. We have 3 atoms in 1 water. So it's approximately 1 mole atoms, right? So this is also 1 mole of atoms, which is Avogadro constant. 1 mole means 6.02 10 over 23. So it's not absolutely the correct answer. 4 gram divided by helium. Helium is also 4. And we know helium is monatomic. So we have 1 mole of helium here, which is equal to the Avogadro constant. And 28 gram carbon monoxide, you see, 28 divided by carbon is 12 and oxygen is 16, which is 28, which is 1 mole carbon monoxide means 1 into 2, which is 2 mole atoms. Because in carbon monoxide, you see we have 2 atoms in 1 carbon monoxide. So in 1 mole of carbon monoxide, we'll have 2 moles of atoms. So D is the only correct answer. So this question is very important. So this is not correct. D is the only correct answer. Now electrolysis, question number 10. The electrolysis of concentrated aqueous sodium chloride and see aqueous and molten. In our syllabus, up to A levels, basically A2 levels, we have only the electrolysis we have is basically electrolysis are of 2 types. You need to do electrolysis for aqueous or solution, and you need to go for molten substances. So you have both here, aqueous and molten, connected in series. So it seems very difficult, but if you really understand electrolysis, it will be easy, I think. See, concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, and this one is molten. So we know in molten sodium chloride, what are the ions present? You have sodium ion, you have chloride ion, and in aqueous sodium chloride, which is concentrated, what we have sodium ion for sure, we have chloride ion, we have hydrogen ion, and we have hydroxide ion, because hydrogen and hydroxide, whenever they will give you any solution or in aqueous state or in dilute state or in concentrated state, you need to understand you have hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion from water, because water slightly dissociates water. If I write it here, water slightly dissociates to form hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion, and water is being a covalent substance, it ionizes partially. We have discussed it when we have studied electrolysis, and you have definitely studied. So if we see, we have sodium ion chloride ion here. So you have negatively charged electrode and positively charged electrode. So sodium ion will go to the negatively charged electrode. So if sodium ion goes in negatively charged electrode, what will happen? Sodium ion will gain electron to form sodium metal. This is basically the negatively, what will happen to the negatively charged electrode. And in positively charged electrode, this chloride ion will go here. And if 2 chloride ion, they loses 2 electrons, you can write minus 2e here, but instead we write formally as plus 2e in the right hand side instead of writing minus 2 in the left hand side, just like mathematics. So we are taking minus 2e in the right hand side of the equation. So 2 chloride, so chlorine gas will form. So this is what will form in, they're asking for, see, electrode 2, this one, positively charged electrode, electrode 2. So electrode 2, you have chlorine form, right? So this is basically for molten sodium chloride. For solution, which is concentrated, they're asking for the negative electrode. See, negative electrode they're asking for. So we are just finding the negative electrode. So in the negative electrode, we know positively charged ion will go. So we have two positive charge ion here, sodium ion and hydrogen ion. So from sodium ion and hydrogen ion, we will go. We know metal which are above hydrogen in the reactivity series. I'm saying again, we know metals we are again, which are metals which are above hydrogen in the reactivity series. In the reactivity series, we know potassium, sodium, lithium means all group 1 and group 2 metals, including most of the transition metals, except for copper, silver, and gold. They are above hydrogen in the reactivity series. So if the metal ion is above hydrogen in the reactivity series, then that metal ion will never go. So only copper ion, silver ion, and gold ion, if present with hydrogen ion in the solution form, they will go. But this very reactive metals, their ions are very least reactive, so they will never go. So hydrogen ion will go, and hydrogen ion, if goes to the negatively charged electron, two hydrogen ion will gain 2 electrons to form hydrogen gas. So this is basically the only correct answer, hydrogen and chlorine. So B is the only correct thing. So I hope you understand. This seems difficult questions, but these are easy basically if you have proper understanding of electrolysis. And see, only this question is good enough to judge. One more question is good enough to judge whether you have proper understanding of electrolysis for O levels purpose or not. One question is enough. Question number 11, when an acid is added to an alkali, the temperature of the reaction mixture rises. Acid and alkali, we know it's a neutralization reaction. So neutralization reaction temperature will definitely rise. Which words describe this reaction? Decomposition. They are not decomposition, they are neutralization, number 1. And since the temperature is rising, it's not endothermic, it's definitely exothermic. So D is the only correct answer. Number 12, some properties of 4 fuels are shown. Which fuel is a gas at room temperature and makes 2 products when it burns in a plentiful supply of air? Air means here oxygen. Which fuel is gas at room temperature? So hydrogen is a fuel, which is a gas at room temperature. Methane is a fuel, which is gas at room temperature. Octane and wax, they are not gases at room temperature. Moreover, they have melting point and boiling point given. So any temperature which is above the boiling point is gas. So at room temperature, 126 is not basically the room temperature, and 400 is not the room temperature. So octane and wax are not correct answer. From hydrogen, methane, we need to find which fuel is a gas at room temperature. We have found already hydrogen or methane, because they have boiling point of -253 and -164, and makes 2 products. 2 products need to be made when it burns in a plentiful supply of air. So if we burn hydrogen in air, in oxygen, it forms only water. Only one compound is formed, only one product is formed. Whereas methane, CH4, if we burn in oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide and water. So you need to balance. So if you want to balance, you can balance, but for this purpose, we don't need to. So, but 2 oxygen and 2 oxygen, 4 oxygen. So you just balance it. So B is the only correct answer, because it is giving you 2 products. So they are giving 2 products. So 12, B is the only correct answer. Next question. Question number 13, the electrical energy or voltage of 2 simple cells. Cells means battery. We use cell. We call cell phone, means battery operated phone. That's why cell phone. So these are 2 batteries. You see voltmeter where the voltage is given, but it's the same thing. Instead of voltmeter, if you use a mobile phone here, and if you play PUBG, then you can play. Okay, so that's how it goes. So they're giving some statements. You see, we have zinc and magnesium. And here we have copper and magnesium. Fine. So statement 1, the voltage of cell 1 is greater than cell 2. So voltage of cell 1 is greater. We need to understand one thing is zinc, magnesium, and copper. We know magnesium is higher in the reactivity series than zinc. Then we have copper. So the voltage of cell 1 is greater than cell 2. So magnesium and copper, if you put zinc and magnesium together, then basically the voltage difference is the difference in reactivity between magnesium and zinc. And we see magnesium and copper, since the difference is very high, voltage difference will be very, very high. So magnesium and zinc is basically the difference in reactivity. Greater the difference between the two metals in the reactivity series, more will be the voltage. So we know magnesium and zinc has less voltage because they have less difference in reactivity, but magnesium is very high in the reactivity series and copper is very low in the reactivity series. So thereby the voltage of this cell 2 should be higher. So the voltage of cell 1 is greater than cell 2 is incorrect. Statement 2, zinc is more reactive than copper. That is true. Magnesium is oxidized in both cells. So what will happen? The metal which is high in reactivity, they must readily lose electrons because we know all metals lose electrons. So if a metal can very readily lose electron, it is a very reactive metal. So magnesium will readily form two plus ion and will discharge 2 electrons. So this electron will go from magnesium to zinc and you can measure the voltage. That's how it will go. And for this, same thing, magnesium will, lose electron and this copper electrode will receive the electron. So magnesium is oxidized in both cases. We know loss of electron is oxidation. So magnesium is oxidized in both cells. So as I said, greater the reactivity of metal, more readily it will lose electrons. So it will be oxidized. Statement 4, magnesium atoms lose electrons to form magnesium ions. Magnesium atoms, they lose electrons to form magnesium ions. This is also correct. So statement 4 is also correct. So all statements are correct. This is not true. Only statement 1 and 3 are correct. Statement 2 is correct and explains statement 1. Okay, we need to look at again carefully. The voltage of cell 1 is greater than cell 2. Cell 2 has greater voltage, so this is not correct. Statement 2, zinc is more reactive than copper. This is a correct statement, statement 2. And magnesium is oxidized in both cells. This is also correct. And magnesium atoms lose electrons to form magnesium ion. This is also correct. Magnesium atoms are losing electrons to form magnesium ions. This is correct answer. All statements are correct. This is not true. Only statement 1 and 3 are correct. Only statement 1. Statement 1 is not correct. So this is not true. Statement 2 is correct and explains statement 1. Statement 2 is correct. Zinc is more reactive than copper. And it explains statement 1. Yes, to some extent it is explaining statement 1. Yes, so statement 2 is correct and explains statement 1. Statement 2 is definitely correct and it explains statement 1 why cell 2 has greater voltage. To some extent it explains. Statement 4 is correct and explains statement 3. Statement 4 is correct. Magnesium atom lose electrons. Okay, statement 2 is correct and it cannot explain statement 1. That's true. It cannot explain statement 1 because statement 2 is correct means zinc is more reactive than copper, but it cannot explain why the cell voltage of 1 is greater than cell 2 because we need the reactivity of all magnesium, zinc, and copper in order to explain why statement 1 is incorrect. Thereby, statement 4 is correct. Magnesium atoms lose electrons to form magnesium ions. This is true. And this is what explains statement 3, which is magnesium is oxidized in both cells. So this is correct statement. So D is the only correct statement here. Question number 14. Dilute aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed using carbon electrodes. So it's carbon inert electrode, and dilute aqueous sodium chloride. So it is dilute and aqueous sodium chloride. What is the product at the anode? So we know sodium chloride, since it is in aqueous state, we have sodium ion, we have chloride ion, we have hydrogen ion, and we have hydroxide ion present. So they are asking for product at anode. Anode means we know these are cations. These are cations. Cation means positively charged ion. So they will go to negative electrode, which is cathode. So how we'll remember cation? Cat has pause. We sometimes say cat has pause. That's why cation is positive in order to remember. So since cation is positive, cation goes to the electrode, which we call cathode by the name of cation. And since cation is positive, cathode must be negative. So that's how we need to remember. And they're asking for anode. So anion will definitely go. Let us change the color of the marker. So chloride and hydroxide both are anion. So they are anions. They will go to anode, right? Because since they are anion. So cation is positive and anions are negative. So anions go to the anode, which is positive. Anode is positively charged electrode. So from chloride and hydroxide, which ion will go? So what we need to remember is if the sodium chloride solution was concentrated, then chloride must go. Since it is dilute, then chloride will not go. In dilute solution, there is less chloride ion and more hydroxide ion. We have good concentration of hydroxide ion. So for hydroxide ion, we know this is the equation which you must memorize. These are the, I always say to my students, these are the one of the 5 sentences you need to memorize for your O levels, right? Only 5 sentences. From 5, this is 1. 4 hydroxide ion will form 2 moles of water, 1 mole of oxygen, and 4 moles of electrons will be released. So we have oxygen here. So what is the product at anode? Definitely C is the only correct answer. So that's how we need to go. Question number 15, the volume of gas given in a chemical reaction is measured over time. The results are shown. So volume of gas in x-axis and time in y-axis. At which time is the rate of reaction greatest, right? So volume of gas evolves, see again the volume of gas given in a chemical reaction. So steeper the curve, more it will be steeper the curve, right? Greater volume of gas is evolved per unit time. So at which time is the rate of reaction greatest? 0 second, 4 second, this is 4, and 6 second, this is 6, very steep, and 10 seconds, 10 seconds is flattened. So this is absolutely not correct, and 0 second is not correct. We can see the graph is most steep. If you draw a gradient here, it will be steepest. At 4 second, it is not that steep. So if you take the gradient, so this is basically the steepest. So 6 is the only correct answer. So gradient, we say gradient is basically the rate. So gradient means slope, right? So you need to take the slope and you need to have a sketch of slope, and you will easily understand. At 6 seconds, it was the steepest. So that's it. For question number 15, C is the only correct answer. 16. Dinitrogen tetroxide is converted into nitrogen dioxide in a reversible reaction. So this is a reversible reaction. The forward reaction is endothermic, they're saying. Forward reaction is endothermic, means delta H for the forward reaction is positive. So delta H for the back reaction must be negative. If it is plus X, it should be minus X. Which conditions give the highest equilibrium yield? They're asking for yield of nitrogen dioxide. Pressure and temperature. Temperature is very easy, so we need to do this first. So yield of temperature, if we increase the temperature, thereby equilibrium will shift to the endothermic side if we increase the temperature. So A and C is the only correct answer. Then pressure, we know we have 1 mole of gas in the left hand side, 1 mole, and 2 moles in the right hand side. So we have more moles in the right and less mole in the left. So we know it's just like the gases or the equilibrium in equilibrium reaction, gases are just behave like us. So say for example, if we have very high pressure at our home, means say you have 4 bedrooms before, now you have say 3 bedrooms. So what we'll like, if we have 3 bedrooms, we'll like less population. If we have 4 bedrooms, we'll like more population. Gases are like us. Okay, so if we increase the pressure, equilibrium will shift to the side where there are less moles of gas. And if we decrease the pressure means increasing the volume, means more bedrooms. So we will like our guests will come and join us. So that's how it goes. So pressure, they're asking for yield, means product. So we see we have more moles in the right hand side. So if we decrease the pressure, equilibrium will shift to the side to have more moles of gas. So 2 and 2 should be the only correct answer. So you have less moles, so equilibrium shift to the side where we have less, more population. Less pressure means more volume, more bedrooms. That's how you need to remember. So more guest is desired. More guests can come. But if we have high pressure, means less bedrooms. So we will not invite guests. Maybe we'll say come later if we get a bigger residence, right? So 16 is working like that. Number A, 16A is the correct answer. 17, when magnesium is heated with zinc oxide, a reaction occurs. The equation is shown. This one is a displacement reaction, you know. Which substance is oxidized? So you see magnesium gains oxygen, magnesium oxide, very straight. Which substance is oxidized? Magnesium. Zinc oxide is reduced. Zinc oxide is reduced. So that's how we need to understand. 17A is the only correct answer. We know gain of oxygen is oxidation. Number 18, X and Y are oxides of 2 different elements. X and Y are oxides of 2 different elements. X reacts with water to produce aqueous solution of Z. X plus H2O is equal to Z, which is an aqueous solution. Z turns universal indicator paper blue. Definitely. So Z. This is an alkali. Since it is turning universal indicator paper blue, an aqueous solution of Y reacts with sodium carbonate to produce carbon dioxide. So Y reacts with sodium carbonate to form carbon dioxide. Thereby Y must be an acid. Because acid reacts with metal carbonate to give you carbon dioxide, salt, and water. Which statement is correct? X and Y are both the oxides of metal. So we know acids are non-metal oxide and alkali are metal oxides. So this should not be correct. X and Y are both the oxides of non-metals. This is not correct as well because acids are non-metal oxide and alkalis are metal oxides. X is the oxide of metal. That's true. Y is the oxide of a non-metal. This is also true. C is the only correct answer. X is the oxide of a non-metal. This is not true because alkali cannot form from non-metal oxides. And Y is the oxide of metal. This is basically just the opposite of the correct answer. Number 18, C is the only correct. Number 9, organic chemistry. Ethanoic acid reacts with water to produce an acidic solution. Which row describes the roles of ethanoic acid and water in this reaction? Ethanoic acid reacts with water to produce an acidic solution. So aqueous ethanoic acid. You know, ethanoic acid is vinegar. So ethanoic acid and water, if we write the reaction, CH3COOH plus H2O, if they react together, we know this hydrogen is the acidic hydrogen of ethanoic acid. We have 4 hydrogen in ethanoic acid, but only carboxylic acid containing hydrogen is the acidic hydrogen. So this proton will be donated here. So what will form CH3C double O minus and hydroxonium ion, which is H2O plus, which is basically a proton acceptor. So water is a proton acceptor. Ethanoic acid, it is donating a proton, donates a proton, and water accepts a proton. That is the only correct statement, which describes the role of ethanoic acid and water in this reaction. So C is the only correct answer. So it's basically water is acting as a base and ethanoic acid is the weak acid. Next question, 20. Copper to sulfate is a soluble salt. Calcium sulfate is an insoluble salt. Which row shows suitable reactants for preparing a pure sample of named salt, and reactant? Calcium sulfate is insoluble. So calcium carbonate is also insoluble. So in order to make an insoluble salt, we need the calcium 2 plus ion and sulfate ion in aqueous state in order to form calcium sulfate solid, because it is an insoluble salt. So the method is precipitation method. So calcium carbonate is insoluble itself. So you cannot make calcium sulfate by using a calcium carbonate and dilute sulfuric acid. Calcium sulfate, aqueous calcium chloride. So we have calcium 2 plus ion here in calcium chloride, and we have aqueous sodium sulfate. So we have sulfate ion here. So calcium 2 plus ion and sulfate ion will react together to form calcium sulfate. So B is a correct statement. Then you see copper to sulfate. We need to say something regarding this. Copper to sulfate, in order to produce copper to sulfate, copper metal, the metals which are below hydrogen in the reactivity series, they do not react with dilute acids. So this is not correct. Copper you cannot take with dilute sulfuric acid. If you want to make copper to sulfate, you must have copper carbonate or copper oxide. So we always make using black copper oxide and sulfuric acid, we always make copper sulfate. And copper to sulfate, aqueous copper to chloride and aqueous sodium sulfate. Since copper to sulfate is a soluble salt, this is basically two soluble solution, which will not give you a soluble salt. This is basically a precipitation method, and they will not give you any precipitate. Basically, copper to sulfate is not a soluble salt. That's why this is not the correct statement. So B is the only correct statement here. Question number 21, strontium displaces magnesium from molten magnesium chloride. Okay, great. So magnesium chloride here and strontium is reacting. So strontium chloride should form and magnesium should be displaced. That is what is happening. Bromine displaces iodine from aqueous potassium iodide. So all are displacement reactions. So potassium iodide and bromine, if reacts together, since bromine is more reactive than iodine, then it will form potassium bromide and iodine will be displaced. So if you want, balance equation. Which row describes the change in reactivity down group 2 and group 7 of the periodic table? So group 2 reactivity increases down the group as strontium is lower in the group than magnesium, so it increases. And group 7, we know as we go down the group, reactivity decreases. So this is correct and this is correct. So C is the only correct answer. So for metals, reactivity increases down the group. For non-metals, especially for halogens, reactivity decreases down the group. Fluorine is most reactive and astatine is least reactive in group 7. Question number 22. Elements J and K are in the same period in the periodic table. They are in the same period, element J and K. J reacts with acid to produce a salt and hydrogen. J reacts with an acid to form salt plus hydrogen gas. And K reacts with sodium to form an ionic compound. And K reacts with sodium metal to form an ionic compound, means salt. Which statement about J and K are correct? An atom of J has more electrons than an atom of K. So J must be a metal, right? And K must be a non-metal. So K is a non-metal, because non-metal reacts with metal, sodium, to form salt. So this is a non-metal. So since they are in the same period, non-metal has higher number of electron number, right? So atom of J has more electrons? No, it has less electrons because J is a metal for sure. Because we know metals, they react with acid to form salt and hydrogen. So metal should have less number of electrons. J and K are both metals? No. J and K are both non-metals? No. J is to the left of K in the periodic table. Yes, metals are in the left-hand side and non-metals are in the right-hand side in the periodic table. So D is the only correct. So they are in the same period, J and K. So J is to the left and K is in the right of the periodic table. That is very true statement. Part of the periodic table is shown. Question number 23. Which element has a high density, high melting point, and form brown oxide? So high density and high melting point and form a brown oxide. So high density and high melting point should have very high melting point and high density, and it can form a brown oxide since it is a transition metal. We know colorful compounds, they form colorful transition metal, they form colorful compound. So brown oxide, this is possible by the transition metal B. Next question, 24. And if I want to add more, group 1 and group 2 metals and this D, which seems aluminum, they do not form colorful compounds or colorful oxide. Yes, they sometimes can form colorful compounds. If, say, for example, sodium dichromate, Cr2O7 2-. So it's basically the chromate ion which is colorful. That's why sodium dichromate is colorful. But sodium, from its own, without the presence of transition metal ion, cannot form any colorful compounds. So this is in addition. Number 24, the reactions of 4 metals W, X, Y, and Z are listed. Metals W displaces metal X from oxide of metal X. Okay, see, the reaction of 4 metals are listed. Metal W displaces metal X from the oxide of metal X. So W can displace. So W is higher and X is lower in the reactivity because W can displace X. Metal Y has a greater tendency to form positive ion than metal W. So metal Y has greater tendency to form positive ion. So Y must be higher than W because more reactive the metal is, more easily it can lose electron and form positive ion. So Y is more reactive than W for sure. Aqueous ions of metal Z are reduced by metal X. Aqueous ions of metal Z are reduced by metal X. Aqueous ion of metal Z, so say Z is a metal which is plus, and X, if reacts, are reduced, right? So if it Z plus gains electron, then it will form Z. It is a reduction. Gain of electron is reduction. So if this is the case, then see, X is able to displace Z from its solution. So X must be more reactive than Z. That you need to understand. So Z is here. So I'm saying this again, aqueous ions of metal Z. So if it is aqueous ion, say for example, if it is zinc chloride, Z chloride plus X, then what will form? Z plus XCl. Do you understand? So Z is displayed. So who displayed Z? Definitely X. So X is more reactive than Z. That's why X is able to displace Z from Z chloride. So that is how it happens. Y, W, X, and Z. Y, W, X, and Z. A is the only correct answer. Least reactive, sorry. Most reactive is Y, then W, then X, then Z. Z is the least reactive. So D is the only correct answer. Question number 25. 3 experiments Z, J, K, and L are set up to investigate rusting. Rusting is basically oxidation of iron in the presence of water. So this is how is happening. Mild steel, painted iron, and stainless steel. So in which experiments does rusting occur? J, mild steel should rust. J should rust. This is correct. K should not rust and L should not rust because painting is a barrier method and stainless steel is an alloy which doesn't rust. So C is the only correct answer. Very easy. Next point, silver is below copper in the reactivity series. We know silver is below copper. Which row describes the reactions of silver? Reaction of steam, reaction with steam. Silver does not react with steam, so no reaction. Reaction with dilute hydrochloric acid should have no reaction because metals below hydrogen does not react. So A is the only correct answer. Silver should not react with neither steam nor with dilute hydrochloric acid because the principle is metals below hydrogen in the reactivity series, namely copper, silver, and gold. They do not react with dilute acids or cold water or steam. Number 27, iron is galvanized by coating it with zinc. Iron is galvanized with zinc, that we know. Brush is made by copper and zinc by alloying them together. Mixing means alloying. Which row gives the reasons for each of these use of zinc? Reason for galvanizing iron: prevents corrosion. Galvanization or galvanizing is the objective is to prevent rusting, means corrosion. Reasons for making brass: produce a softer metal, produces a harder metal. So we know pure metals are softer than alloy, so we want to make harder metal. That's why we are using copper and zinc together and we are making brass. So B is the only correct answer. Alloys are harder than pure metals. Next point, the diagram shows the stays in the purification of dirty water. So the diagram shows the stays, dirty water, then sand, then fine gravel, then coarse gravel, pot with holes in bottom. So what is happening? Which process does this apparatus show? It's definitely dirty water. It's filtering through this sand, fine gravel, and coarse gravel in order to get a pure water. So it's definitely filtration. So these are acting as filter papers. That's it. The next point, number 29. Which substance is polluted air, damages stonework and kills trees? Which substance is polluted air, damages stonework, means limestone work or calcium carbonate, and kills trees? So it's basically, it's not carbon monoxide, it's not carbon dioxide, lead compounds and sulfur dioxide. It's basically sulfur dioxide. If reacts with oxygen, it forms sulfur trioxide. And if sulfur trioxide reacts with water, right? If these two reacts, then what forms? Sulfuric acid, which is a cause of acid rain, can kill trees and stonework, means limestone building. Number 30, ammonium nitrate is a fertilizer and is added to fields to help crops grow. Slack lime, which is calcium hydroxide, also called lime water, is an alkali and is added to fields to reduce the acidity of the soil since they are alkali. Ammonium nitrate and slack lime should not be added to field at the same time because they react with each other to form a gas Z. What is Z? So calcium hydroxide and ammonium nitrate, if reacts together, you see calcium hydroxide plus ammonium nitrate, if they react, they form ammonia, water, and calcium nitrate. So since ammonia is produced, which is an alkali, it should not be added. So what is Z? The gas formed is A, ammonia. Next point, you know, this is contact process to make sulfuric acid. The scheme shows 4 stages in the conversion of sulfur to sulfur. sulfur to sulfuric acid, right? In which stage is a catalyst used? Sulfur stage A, sulfur dioxide. We know sulfur dioxide reacts with oxygen, and we need a catalyst here, and it's a reversible reaction to form sulfur trioxide. And we know V2O5, vanadium pentoxide, is a catalyst we use, so it's stage B. Okay, stage B is the only correct answer. So B is the only correct answer here. Okay. Number 32, which element has an oxide that is used as a food preservative? So helium does not have oxide. Hydrogen oxide of hydrogen is water. Iron oxide we do not use, because iron oxide means it may be the rust, so it is not the thing. So it's basically which element has an oxide that is used as food preservative. Basically it's oxide of sulfur, which can be used as food preservative. So 32, D is the only correct answer. Which substance gives off carbon dioxide on heating? So we know limestone. Limestone means calcium carbonate. If we heat it, it's a thermal decomposition reaction. It forms calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So this is number B, which forms calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So they're asking for carbon dioxide. Lime is calcium oxide. Lime water is calcium hydroxide. So they will not. And slack lime and lime water is same thing. Which compound has the most CH2 groups in one molecule? So butane, organic compound, organic chemistry. Butane, CH2, how many? Let's see. So you have CH2 and CH2, two CH2 groups. So we have two butanoic acid. So CH3, CH2, CH2, and C double bond OH. So we have 1, 2, we have 2. Butane 1 all. So what is butane 1 all? 1, 2, 3, and 4 carbon with OH. So we have 1, 2, and 3 CH2 group. So we have 3 here. But 1 in should not be correct. But 1 in. We have a double bond here. And this is the thing. So we have only 1. So number C is the only correct answer. They are asking for which compound has the most CH2 groups. CH2, only CH2 you need to take. You cannot take any CH3 because they gave 2 bonds. So C, butane 1 all. Methane reacts with chlorine in the presence of UV light, we know. Which substance is not produced in this reaction? So hydrogen is not produced, HCl produces, and we have chloromethane, and we can have dichloromethane as well, because CH4, if reacts with chlorine in the presence of UV light, it can be CH3Cl, it can be CH2Cl, it can be CHCl3, it can be CCl4. All are possible. All the hydrogen can be replaced by chlorine, and with all of this, HCl produces. So B can produce, C can produce, D can produce, right? So which is not produced? Definitely A, hydrogen does not produce in substitution reaction involves methane or any other alkane and halogen together. Number 36, ethene reacts with both hydrogen and steam. Ethene reacts with both hydrogen and steam. Yes. Ethene is, we know, ethene is what? Carbon-carbon double bond, this. And if reacts with hydrogen, it forms ethane, which is an alkane. And if ethene reacts with steam, which is water, it forms what? It forms alcohol, which is ethanol. Means this is basically the thing. Carbon-carbon double bond will be single bond. Then one hydrogen will come in one carbon, and the OH will come in another carbon. So that is how it goes. So you see, it is ethanol. So which row about these reactions is correct? Reactant with ethene. Hydrogen, type of reaction, definitely not substitution. Alkenes do not give substitution. Hydrogen, addition, correct. Catalyst, yes, nickel is the catalyst. Nickel is the catalyst here because it is hydrogenation reaction. Hydrogenation, we have studied. Hydrogenation means hydrogenation, addition of hydrogen. In that, nickel or platinum catalyst is used. This is correct. And steam, this is not substitution. Phosphoric acid is the catalyst, is fine. Addition is fine, but nickel is not the catalyst. So B is the only correct answer. Which type of reaction occurs when ethanol is converted to ethanoic acid? So ethanol is converted to ethanoic acid by any oxidation reaction. You can use air. It means if you leave ethanol in open air, then it will turn to ethanoic acid. You can use any oxidizing agent like potassium permanganate, potassium manganate 7 in dissolved in dilute sulfuric acid, or potassium dichromate dissolved in dilute sulfuric acid. So any of the oxidizing agent, if you use, then you convert it to ethanoic acid. So which type of reaction occurs when ethanol convert to ethanoic acid? Is oxidation for sure. 37. 38. You see, it's a condensation reaction. Sometimes students are worried. They worry regarding this type of problematic blocks and large diagrams, but you need to understand it carefully. Hydrolysis of polymer P produces the 3 compounds shown. So a polymer P is hydrolyzed to form this. See, blocks are not important. Important are the functional groups. This is an amine, and this is a carboxylic acid. So amine, carboxylic acid, amine, carboxylic acid. So all of them are amine and carboxylic acid. Varying, these blocks are CH2. They have different number of CH2, maybe 4 CH2 and 6 CH2 and 8 CH2, maybe. But all of these blocks are basically amino acids, which are building block of protein amino acids. Because we have amino acid, the structure of amino acid is like this. We have carboxylic acid in one side of the carbon. We have NH2 in another side. We have hydrogen in one side, and we have an alkyl group, differing alkyl group in another side. So this is basically true for all amino acids present. What is the structure of polymer? We know if this join together, then see, we have NH, this is fine, then bond, we have carboxylic acid. So this OH will go out, this hydrogen will go out, then this hydrogen will go out from here, and they will join CONH. This is the thing, CONH. Then we have OH will not be there, hydrogen will not be there, then this OH will not be there, and they will join. So this OH and H will join together to form H2O, and there will be CONH. This H and OH will join together to form H2O, and there will be CONH joining together, and the OH will go, and there will be bond extension. So NH, black block, then C double bond O, C double bond O, then NH, NH, then gray block, C double bond O, C double bond O, then you have NH, NH, then this block, and C double bond O, then bond extension. A is the only correct answer. Let's see why they are wrong. See, NH, black block, then NH, this is incorrect. This should be C double bond O. So this is incorrect. Then NH, block, C double bond O, NH, then block, C double bond O, NH, then this block, then NH. See, NH in both sides of the block, which is not correct. See, we have NH and C double bond O, right? So we cannot have same functional group in amino acid in both sides of the block. And this one, CO, black block, we do not have black block and CO at the start, right? So this should not be correct as well, because you see same group, again, same group in one block. So this is not correct. So A is the only correct answer for question number 38. Question number 39, which statement about unsaturated hydrocarbons is correct? Unsaturated hydrocarbon, we know this should have carbon-carbon double bond present, and hydrocarbon means carbon and hydrogen only. So this one is unsaturated hydrocarbon. We can see we have carbon-carbon double bond, and we have all the carbon and hydrogen. This should be correct. Ethene has more hydrogen atoms per molecule than ethane. No, more hydrogen. Ethane has more hydrogen, so this is not correct. Unsaturated hydrocarbons have double bonds between carbon and hydrogen atoms. No, between carbon and carbon atoms. So this is incorrect. unsaturated hydrocarbons turn aqueous bromine from colorless to brown. No, from brown to colorless. So this is incorrect. So A should be the only correct answer. Last question, number 40. The equation shows the formation of a polymer called Kevlar. Kevlar is used in bulletproof jacket. We'll study in A-levels. So, but this question you can answer easily. See, which row describes Kevlar? See, water is going out. So you have diamine. So forget about this complicated stuff. This is not important for you. You need to understand you have carboxylic acid and carboxylic acid. So dicarboxylic acid, and you have diamine, right? And n moles of they are joining together. So if water is going out, then we always say from carboxylic acid OH goes out, from carboxylic acid OH goes out, and from amine one hydrogen goes out and another hydrogen will be there. Okay, from amine one hydrogen should be here and another hydrogen should go out. That's how it goes. So you see you have C double bond O extension and then a ring, this ring, then C double bond O, then NH, because water will go out, water will not be here. This is water which is going out. So NH, then the ring, then NH and extension. This is the thing. Which row describes Kevlar? How the polymer is formed? It's definitely not addition. This is condensation. And type of polymer, we see it's a polyamide linkage, right? CONH, it's polyamide or polypeptide linkage. So polyamide is correct. Polyester linkage is C double bond O. This is polyester linkage. This is polyester. So this is polyamide linkage. So we can see C is the only correct answer. And this is the end of your question paper. So we'll see you in the next paper, hopefully. Thank you.